into a brand new wave, drowning out the noise that's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that's safe, algorithms new dawn today. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're unpanned. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
What is up? What is going on? What the hell? I don't know. It's Crypto Wednesday. I am the legacy of Jennifer Kaiser. That's Andrew Joseph, bald head, fat guy, lady killer. This is
Right.
Crypto Wednesday. And I don't mean that as he's a man of the ladies. I mean they run away when they see his baldness.
I am the Michael Myers of the YouTube
not-
podcast scene.
They just don't want the baldness, dude. They don't like it. They're scared of what is right.
It's all right. I'm used to being rejected.
Aren't we all?
I'm not as bald as our current topic.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, honestly, he would probably say if you're being rejected, it's probably a good thing.
Right.
So maybe they're a little too shallow there, and you're just way too deep in that baldness. Get your head
They
out of
muddy
the
the
sand.
water to make it seem deep.
Maybe that's just culture. They don't see just how bright that baldness is. And my God, that head is pretty bright, actually.
It's my best feature.
I mean, look at that light illuminating. I mean, directly, I see your ceiling, your light bulb. Like, I can literally see that it's just a light bulb. Turn the light on. Don't scare people. Don't scare people. Welcome to Crypto Wednesday. We're going to discuss about Bitcoin and what it has for its attainment towards either a new power or a rejection of power. What does that even mean on a philosophical standpoint there, Andrew? What does Bitcoin versus power mean in your mindset?
Well, Bitcoin versus power means it's untying the incestuous financial system we have and making people's lives better. At
But
least historically.
hasn't it become incestuous itself? Isn't it basically a part of that same structure at this point?
They're trying to
Maybe.
co-opt it, yes, but this video is it's a little older, it's from 2014, but it's still classic. So I figured, we jump into it and look it over.
I'm of the conclusion that Bitcoin was most definitely developed by feds, and there was a reason why it was co-opted. And on the outside looking in, initially, it looked like something that was tangible for a decentralized future, but there was always a backdoor. Now, I will I will give Bitcoin salutations for what it brought about in the technology of the blockchain for the future, with how we've been able to improvise and innovate, and why you have different engineers coming up with different ideas every day, every waking day and week and month, trying to figure out how do we get this down to a T of true decentralized, true economic freedom, true utilitarian scope. So you have exchanges like Monero that have come about because if it wasn't for the initial blockchain operation of Bitcoin. And I know the white paper says one thing of what Bitcoin should be. You're and I know that's what you're thinking, but at the same time, I'm having a hard time believing that Bitcoin was meant for something else when it was so easily co-opted back in 2013 to 2015. So,
Are you
but the technology of it, of course, is in all retrospect, is very unique to where you can fork from it and create new things and innovate. So, Bitcoin was a wonderful invention, but Bitcoin itself was always CIA NSA derivative.
are you implying that Bitcoin's the fall guy?
I'm implying that Bitcoin was always a patsy, yes.
Interesting. Interesting. I don't know.
But
You s-
without Bitcoin, we don't have utilitarian forks like peer-to-peer examples such as Bitcoin Cash. You don't have privacy, decentralized exchanges and coins like Zcash and Monero. You don't have the tokenization of the privacy sphere such as Zano. You don't have all these innovations within the open source network that have worth in their own right, that can lead us to a more decentralized competing world. I just don't think Bitcoin was ever exactly what they said it was. I think it was always maintained as a sort of patsy.
Well, I guess you forgot the most important one. Dash.
Oh, I did forget Dash. Yeah, Dash. Zcash. I said Zcash. I should have said Dash. I said Dash is another one.
It's not the most important, but it's still good
Yeah,
important.
it's one of them good ones. I also forgot to mention like new networks like Tornado Cash, like which is highly decentralized. And the main reason why Roman Storm is going to prison in December is because his network has no back door, and the government wants a back door. So if they can take him out, then they can force new technologies to emerge to stay in line with the government and their centralized financial networks, so that they have to be the perception is that they have to create a backdoor for the government to get in, which is not
Must
how
be
blockchain should work.
this must be very exhausting, chasing everybody down, making sure that they're are keeping backdoors in place for people like that. Must be very tiring.
Not really. All you have to do is say, we'll come after your family. Okay, sir. We'll make sure that you can get in from the back. I'll keep my trousers down, halfway down my ass, like a prisoner in the 1970s. That's where sagging, and that's where the term sagging occurred first. To all them gangsters out there, yeah, it meant you
Pants
were
on the
open.
ground. Pants on the ground. Looking like a fool with your pants on the ground. Hat turned sideways.
Hmm.
Speaking of hats turned sideways. There you go.
Let's not do that ever again. So I give you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and gals, Stefan Molyneux.
Molly, maybe here we go.
Fine business model, no problem with it at all. But in the 19th century, banks had the capacity for failure, of course, right? Because sometimes you invest, you give a whole bunch of people making carriages a lot of money, and then, oh, some jerk invented the car. Damn. Buy to that money, and you lose a lot of money. And of course, banks maybe make 1 or 2 percentage points on a loan, which means for every loan that fails, between 50 and 100 have to succeed perfectly. So it's a very risky business. So banks were competing for customers, and they always wanted to be able to offer more interest. Now, how could they do that? Well, fractional reserve banking. Boy, there's a phrase that will get people to flock to you at dinner parties. I know about fractional reserve banking. Would you like to sit next to me?
Now, for people that don't know your practice, and I'm not trying to be on your side here, I've interviewed you before, but
so the banks wanted to offer more interest, so they had to lend out multiples, right? They got a ton of gold, they lend out 5 tons worth of money to people. And they hope that the law of averages is going to even it out and they're going to be okay. And a lot of times it did. And sometimes it didn't. Then people lost money. They lost money because they were greedy, because they wanted the bank to lend out more than it was holding. When the bank went bankrupt, a lot of rich people lost a lot of money. Where do they go? Oh, congressman. They go to the state. Now, the problem is the state is a negative-sum game. The state is the deal where they say, hey, I can give you 5 euros. And people are like, hey, I like euros, I'll take that. And they say, well, to give you the 5 euros, I need to tax you 10 euros first, if that's all right. And then people say, I think that deal just got away from me. I don't feel like that's going to work that well. Because, you're going to give someone $100, you go tax people $1 each, 100 people, you got to go pick up that money, and people aren't going to comply. You got to have a court system, collection, IRS, all that. So it's a negative-sum game. Some people think it's worth it. That's perhaps a conversation for another time. I'll be at the Q&A session afterwards. But it is a negative-sum game. So if a bunch of rich people come to you and say, my bank went bust, give me some money. Well, you got to go and raise taxes on a bunch of people. And they don't like that. See, when money is limited, when it's limited on gold, the government can't just make it up. It means if you want to transfer money, you have to go take it from someone first, and those people don't like it. And so governments are always trying to, and rich people are always trying to break out of limited money, to get out of this little cage of limited money. And freedom for the government is enslavement for the people. We're talking about power to the people at this conference. When the government is free, the people are enslaved. When the government is contained, then the people are free. And when the government can print all the money that it wants, and when the government can create, in Canada, there's a province, it has 75-year bonds, right? Which means, give me money now, and in 75 years, someone will pay it back. I mean, there's no conceivable way that that could be considered just or fair or democratic. These people aren't even born yet, and you're taxing them. Picking the pocket of a fetus takes some pretty nimble fingers, but they can do it with fiat currency. To limit money is to limit political power. So prior to the First World War, Federal Reserve was created in America with the capacity to create money, which is, well, technically called counterfeiting, but in the annals of government, it's sound fiscal policy. And during the First World War, which everyone expected started late in the summer and everyone expected it to be over by Christmas. Why? Because that's all the money they had. War is ferociously expensive. And all wars prior had been relatively short, relatively contained. And one by one, over the First World War, the European governments went off the gold standard because they had no gold. War and gold don't mix very well. War and limited currency don't mix very well. When you have fiat currency, you have like this infinite blender for human parts. You can just keep shoving more and more people in. If they'd had to wage the First World War on gold, it likely would have ended by Christmas 1914, and a further 9 or 10 million people would not have died. This is how serious money is. Money is life and death for millions of people. So the social programs that were instituted by most European governments in the 19th century, Germany first and foremost among them, kept running through the First World War. Right? You know that, I don't know if you know this, guns or butter. Do you want to have a war economy or do you want consumer goods? When you have fiat currency, you don't have to give people that choice. You can have your social programs, you can have a war economy, and you pay for it by printing money. Anybody, what's the effect of printing money? What does it do to prices? Who's awake? Yeah. It goes up. Yeah, they go up. Inflation, technically, according to the Austrian economists, who I'd really recommend you look into, inflation is an inflation of the money supply. The price that goes up is just an effect of the inflation. First World War, they kept the social programs going while running unsustainable wars, and they had to go off the gold standard. The First World War did not need to be fought. The economic disasters that followed, the uncoupling.
And this is not a new phenomenon, especially when it comes to empires. Whenever an empire overstretches itself, they tend to need to maintain that overstretched territory, and thus they have to manipulate currency, medium of exchanges, to ensure that they can defend and continue to expand so they don't contract and lose their power grip. And that, I mean, this goes back, I mean, we don't have to go too far back with, say, the British Empire, but we definitely can make a correlation with the Roman Empire. And when it comes to inflation being that of the expansion of the money supply, this is one reason why Rome, though there were other issues like overexpansion leading to a chaotic influx of border disruption and opening it up to Germanic tribes to try to tame them, they ended up coming back and overhauling it because it didn't work. So you had a geopolitical instrument with a mass immigration issue. That actually has a lot to do with failing economies and bad economic practice with the inflation of the money supply, phony money. You also have social deterioration, which Rome felt prior to. This is why the legal parameters of Constantine embracing Christianity and legalizing it was a need, because they were seeing the social collapse from their disgusting immoral behavior occurring already, because the empire was actually on the route of collapse even before the 4th century. So Christianity was seen as, maybe this will stabilize because we can use their culture and their moral structure for what they preach as a means to consolidate. So he used it to a political initiative. But as far as the Roman Empire and the Western half collapsing, had a lot more to do with the economy and debasing their own currency by shaving off the gold and the silver coins, the copper coins, and in order to make something in order to use smelt more coins off of already minted coins was one way, and then still saying that the shaven or the chipped coins were still the same value. So, like, let's say, just to use an example, if a coin was 1 dinar, one coin was 1 dinar. You chip it to where it's really only half a dinar, in order to expand the currency, to expand the money supply. You're still saying that the half a dinar is 1 dinar, but in reality, it's half a dinar. So what does that do to the value of your currency? Well, it debases it. It depletes it, and most people are going to look at that and be like, "Wait a second, why am I getting half of what you're saying as a whole? I'm losing money here." So the confidence level of the currency goes, the purchasing power goes, the prices go up, and and then the confidence level of the government really goes down, because we all know, hey, you're worthless because your currency is worthless.
In a term, it's scaling. It's poorly scaled.
It's not scaling. It's scaling down.
Capitulation. Giving
Mhm.
up. Let's get back into it.
Of money from gold are still being felt. 1971 in America. Lyndon Johnson's Great Society social programs were underway, costing billions and billions of dollars, fighting a war in Vietnam, which, like the First World War, did not need to be fought. Did they go to the people and say, we need money for the war, we're going to have to shut down all this other stuff? No. They went off the gold standard, just like the European nations had done through the First World War. They go off the gold standard so they don't have to ask you to choose between food and death, between life and murder,
post
between guns
Lyndon.
and butter.
That was Nixon, but
So if I turned off Ada tomorrow,
yeah,
I would need
I mean,
to
the programs
double my
and started under Johnson.
Taxes in America have not been raised. They're waging a war on terror. Throughout all of human history, 174,000 tons of gold has been mined and refined. 174, just think 174. The war on terror cost 291,000 tons of gold.
Wild.
The cost of World War II for America, which was never invaded or bombed, save Pearl Harbor, was 15 times the amount of gold that they had in Fort Knox and the Fed. In terms of bitcoins, the war on terror costs 500 times more bitcoins than will ever be mined, and about 1,100 times more than is currently available. How is this possible? How is it possible to wage these astoundingly destructive wars with the deaths of over 1 million Iraqis and the displacements of 1.5 million Iraqis? And in Fallujah, the genetic damage to the population as the result of these hellacious weapons is so bad that anthropologists and geneticists estimate that the population of Fallujah has been genetically destroyed for at least a generation. How is it possible? It's possible because money is unlimited. It's possible because not more than 1 in 1,000 or 10,000 people know that they lost their house because they cheered the war. They don't know that. They can't trace that. They're certainly not educated about that. Why would you educate people about that if you want all the evils of warmongering political power? So when governments can print money, they don't have to ask the people to make rational decisions or to balance things, right? The basis of economics. All human desires are infinite. All resources are finite. But with the magic of the printing press, with the magic of typing whatever you want into your own bank account, you go into this crazy psychotic world of limitless capacity for destruction and debt. So if in 2003, the American government had gone to its population and said, hey, that's Saddam, bad guy, right? Bad guy. I think we're all in agreement on that. Very bad guy. Would be nice if they hadn't armed him before, but bad guy. Why don't we go to war? People say, I'm not sure about that. They say, well, that'll be $75,000 per household. Please and thank you very much. how many warmongers would be left? Oh, really? 75,000? No, that's okay. Blessed are the peacemakers. Let's find another route. The TARP bailout for the banks. Hey, do you feel like bailing out Daddy Warbucks and his gold monocle? Would that be fun for you? Great. $2,200 per person. $4,400 for every working person. Want to send that money to us? Really? No, I don't think so. But they can just keep doing things without referring to the will of the people because they didn't invent the photocopier, but they sure know how to use it. The government has no money of its own. Bitcoin is intrinsically limited. You can't make a Bitcoin. You can mine it, and the government can't print a Bitcoin. The government in a Bitcoin currency universe has to actually go to the people and ask them what they want. The government will actually have to do what it claims it does: serve the people. Ask the people, not with votes. Votes. You only ever get to vote for people who've already been bought and paid for. Who's up there on the podium in the presidential debates, whether you go to Europe or to America or South America or China, anywhere? The only people who are up there are people who've got enough money to run. And where are they getting the money from? They're getting the money from special interests at your expense. That's not a theory. I mean, this is fairly well documented. If we have a Bitcoin universe, you don't get to print money for war. You don't get to print money for a prison industrial complex. You don't get to print money for a war on drugs. You have to ask the people. War on drugs in America costs hundreds of billions of dollars a year. At the most conservative estimate, hundreds of billions of dollars a year. How many people, if their moral outrage against drug use, ooh, that's bad vegetation, if their moral outrage was not subsidized by money printing and they had to pay the bill themselves, how many of them would find tolerance for people who like Pink Floyd? I think they would be all right with that.
Most people are too lazy to do this, but it saves homeowners a fortune.
All the people who hate drugs and love Sgt. Pepper's. So Bitcoin gives us an opportunity to reclaim the power of the people to say yes or no to what the government claims that it wants to do. Because there's this weird thing that happens in society. There's something that's happening that's cool, and then people say, well, the government can make it better. And they say, okay, well, the government will make it better, or let's have the government add to it. And then what happens is, boing, you get over to this place where suddenly the government has to do it. And then suddenly it's like, only the government can do it. And this is how we think about currency now. It has to be government. Why? It's a complete anomaly. The last time the government had this much power over currency was in the waning days of the Roman Empire, when they inflated the currency so much that the gold coins only had 2 or 3% of gold left in at the end. And they were trying to pay all their mercenaries with this crap gold. And the mercenaries said, this stuff is crap. We're coming to Rome to get the gold. They killed the Roman economy, depopulated Rome from like 1.5 million people to 17,000 people in a year or two, and that was it for civilization for quite some time. When you give governments the power to control the money supply, it grows like a tumor until it extinguishes society itself. I really urge you to consider it to be that important. With Bitcoin, you can't steal it. Well, if you leave your wallet on a park bench, it can be stolen. But with any rudimentary security, you can't have your Bitcoin stolen. I was just speaking at a conference in Texas. I met some vendors who are integrating something so that if anybody tries to get a Bitcoin out of your wallet, it sends you a text message to your cell phone, you enter a PIN, and you approve the transfer. Solved. You can't steal the Bitcoins now. That happens anywhere and everywhere.
Not your keys, not your wallet.
Not your
Always,
coins.
yeah. I mean, always Whenever, especially when you're using any type of wallet, custodial, non-custodial, you need to. I mean, if it's custodial, it's really not your coins. You need to get your assets out of the custodial and get it into a non-custodial. And eventually, you probably should start thinking about getting a hard wallet. But as far as a wallet goes, if you lose track of your pass key, or you give it to somebody you probably shouldn't have, and you wind up losing your coins, that's your fault. It all comes down to you. I'm intrigued on what he's talking about I mean, that is and there is such a case now, since this is so old, where you will get alerted if somebody tries to take some coins, but that's another directive in its own.
Right.
It's
interesting. So
you don't have anything to add?
I mean, this is like since 2014, so there's been a lot that's happened since then. And I mean, most people that are watching this are probably pretty aware, considering it's Crypto
Bitcoin.
Wednesday.
Yeah, that Bitcoin was hijacked, or maybe it wasn't hijacked and it was all set forth a plan. It was meant to be.
Someone's got to take a fall.
The small blockers were always the feds, and they were the ones that designed Bitcoin to make it easier for it not to scale, so that the big blockers had to go elsewhere and try to plan accordingly.
The censorship really picked up with Bitcoin.
Yes, sir.
All right, this got 5 minutes.
The real Bitcoin.
Let's finish up this last 5 minutes.
There is going to be enormous amounts of resistance to the adoption of Bitcoin, but I really believe that it is about the most peaceful revolution that we can have in this world. It's been called the Internet of Money, in that it's a protocol and you can program around it, you can build anything on top of it, which the community, thousands of developers are currently doing.
This superfood golden milk from Paleo Valley is buy one, get one free right now. So here are 5
But it's better than the internet. Well, that's a non-controversial statement. It's better than the internet because the internet has not slowed the growth of governments around the world. The internet has not saved the next generation from the endless gutter hole of debt. Information empowers the people, but not with regards to political power. Political power is a monopoly of the initiation of force in a geographical area. Information don't stop bullets. But when you don't have money to fund bullets, the bullets stop. War, surveillance, as the lady was talking about before, debt, the growing fascism that is occurring throughout the Western world is all predicated on money. Imagine a football game where every time you cheered, you were charged €5. How loud is that game going to be? Very quiet. Imagine if our primitive reptile bloodlust brain, which we all have, nothing wrong with it. Imagine if our primitive bloodlust, us versus them, tribal, base of the skull meat brain was provoked with an enemy. Those guys are bad. They're coming to get us. We don't want the smoking gun to be in the form of a mushroom cloud. What stops that brain from cheering war? Cost. Cost stops us. Think of the environmental predation and environmental destruction that is wrought by the continual increase in the money supply. How much consumerism is driven by the fact that your money is burning a hole in your pocket? Literally, it's melting, it's evaporating, it's dying in your pocket. Convert it to something, buy something. How much consumer demand is stimulated by excess money being flushed into the system? How much wealth, genuine wealth, not bubble wealth, genuine wealth, how much genuine wealth is not being created? I'll give you one tiny example, then I think I have to end. Oh, the countdown. Normally it takes like 3 or 4 security guards to get me off, but there was a study that came out recently that said if, just one tiny aspect, if American regulations and controls over the economy, interferences in the economy, had stayed at 1946 levels. Now, it was not a Mad Max Thunderdome, flaming-headed, bayoneting kind of wasteland in America in 1946, a civilized society. If regulations had stayed that small
Relatively
in America,
speaking.
if they just stayed that size, the GDP of America would not be $15 trillion. It would be $53 trillion. This is the opportunity cost of one tiny slice of an expansion of government power. There would be no poverty. Nobody would have to worry about healthcare costs. Charity would take care of everyone. And there would not be, as there is in America at the moment, children born into $1.4 trillion worth of debt that they never voted for, never chose, and will spend the rest of their lives groaning under the yoke of foreign banksters to pay off. This is the alternative universe that Bitcoin can generate. So I strongly urge you to start looking into Bitcoin, start promoting it. Yes, it's great. You can make some money. You can do some cool stuff technically, but I really believe this is our best chance to save the world from a direction that it's heading, which is sadly a photocopy of the end of the Roman Empire. When you study history, you're basically watching the same movie over and over and over again with different costumes. Not a toga, it's a suit, but it's the same damn thing. Bitcoin, we can stop the tape. We can break out of it. We can regain power to the people. Jesus, who knew a thing or two about handling the moneylenders, Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers." I say no. "Build shall be the warmongers." And then we get peace. Thank you, everyone, so much.
Blessed are the peacemakers. You want to finish the verse?
I mean, I'm sorry.
You're sorry. What?
I'm drawing
You're
a blank.
sorry. You're drawing a blank. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Come on, dude.
I'm sorry.
Come on. Come. Just kidding. What does that mean to you there, Andrew? What is blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God? Matthew 5, verse 9.
I mean, it definitely means we're building towards a society that Jesus and God would want us to occupy while we wait for his return.
Well, I mean, there's much more than that. You don't have to, and not necessarily about the return, but effectively those that are more than willing to take the internal conflict within themselves and use that as more positive energy towards promoting more positive matters. We're all in conflict with ourselves. I mean, take the financial system, take people with their own issues economically, financially, industriously, spiritually, etc., etc. We tend to like to downgrade ourselves and degrade ourselves to thinking that we're nothing more than this or that. We categorize ourselves for this or we're that, and we want to be that rather than this, and we go back and forth, and we're constantly striving to defeat ourselves. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a self-defeatist absolution, acknowledging that we have our faults, but fighting ourselves from trying to rectify those mistakes within ourselves instead of learning from those said mistakes and innovating and bettering ourselves for something that's more positive. So blessed are those, the peacemakers, for they will become sons of God. From my perspective, means those who are willing to adjust their self-fulfilling prophecy of self-defeatism and turn it on its head and create something more positive for themselves and for the whole of the rest of humanity, for their neighbors, for their family. Those are the sons of God, because you're leading out of love, and thus through love will come peace. So through innovation will always come a more, not peaceful, because we don't live in utopia, at least not on this earth, but a better
Well
means
adjusted.
of a better, yes, better, well adjusted towards cooperative means of placement within our idea of society. But instead, we like to fight and bicker and create conflict, and it starts from the inside and expands outward, and then we're fighting amongst each other. It all starts here inside you. You need to get out of your head and start actually working towards a goal rather than staying in your head and being in this, not being a nihilistic shill. And that's where we're at with society. That's the reason why we're collapsing up under our own weight. That's the reason why we have governments continuously taking out more loans via trading bonds amongst each other and printing or even tapping a button and creating new money in excess. That's the reason why we have social pollution and a divergence of cultural diversity that is collapsing under the weight of itself because nobody can get along, because you have multiple different cultures converging into one culture. And what is that? What do you expect is going to happen? Your culture is not going to mesh with their culture, and thus somebody's got to win. So we fight and we press, and that friction that we're creating is destroying us. It's burning us up.
Well, at least the national debt is only 1.4 trillion.
It's 37 trillion almost.
What has it only been 10 years? 11?
It's only been 10 years, dude.
Man, talk about scaling.
That's called
Compounding
scaling
interest.
right there. Scaling compound interest. Yeah, most of that is interest. The debt in itself is actually very minuscule in comparison. Whatever the debt was, whatever the initial money creation scheme was, and during World War I, that's basically the debt for those 4 years. The rest of it's just straight up interest.
Sad,
Expanding.
isn't it?
It's very, very sad. And your taxes actually don't go. They're taxing you, yes, but it's not like you're being taxed to pay for the interest. No, you're being taxed to pay for a growing welfare state, because it's a balancing act. They have to continue to tax it, because one thing I will agree with the dumbass MMTers is, if they don't tax you, then their projected illusion doesn't hold weight. So they have to tax you while they're creating all this money. But I mean, you're not being taxed for infrastructure. I mean, none of your infrastructure programs are paid for by taxes. It's paid by created money. I mean, it's all siphoned off to the states. Like the last two bills, Build Back Better, Big Beautiful Bill, whatever, same thing, right? It's all being siphoned down. It's all federal money. I mean, same with welfare programs. You're not being taxed really. but to pay for any welfare program, maybe Social Security, but that's just a ruse of its own, and that's what the law was meant. So honestly, when you're being taxed, that pretty much is exactly where your taxes are going to the old folks that live paycheck to paycheck on some shitty Social Security. And for those that actually have a retirement, but are also getting Social Security because that's how the program's designed. You hit a certain age, then you can file and you're eligible to get Social Security. But
Pretty much.
who's paying for the Social Security? Well, the worker. That's essentially the only thing that you're getting taxed. And really the only ones that are actually paying the tax are those that are susceptible to the payroll, for which your taxes automatically get accrued off of your paycheck, and you know exactly what you're being paid net. Self-employed, I mean, you can write that shit off. I mean, it's a pain in the ass, and you're probably going to still owe taxes in some retrospect, but it's mainly going to be in other attributes.
Yeah.
They're not paying Social Security, and thus, no matter what, so long as the government continues to go forth and exist, and there's still confidence in it, they could have 5 workers. 5 workers. You'll still see your Social Security. They'll just rob them. Your Social Security has no value because your dollar ain't shit, and they won't have any money because they'll just rob them of their whole paycheck. But there you go. That's just that's why the system's built to collapse on that end. Social Security was meant to collapse, period, because it wasn't meant to be sustainable. We weren't meant to be living past.
How many governments have survived since antiquity?
Not very many.
Collapse.
They all collapse. And it typically collapses under the regime of inflation and debasing currencies because of overstretching territory, overstretching of infrastructure building because of their overstretched territory, defense preparation because of their empire building, as well as welfare programs in order to sustain the population that they do have because they've overstretched themselves.
Overexposure.
Mm-hmm. So, and then of course that leads into, because you need the workers and half of your population as a citizenry or welfareists effectively, you need the labor. And so that's when you end up bringing in outsiders. Like that's one reason why Rome fell. The reason there was quote unquote open borders wasn't that there was open borders. It's that they brought these Germans in because they couldn't beat them. So they decided, well, we'll educate them. So maybe we can eventually we can conquer them philosophically so that they'll cannibalize themselves. But in reality, what did they do? They sent them back to their kingdoms, and then their kingdoms, they educated their own kingdoms in Roman tactics and Roman philosophy and Roman politics, and then they came in, invaded. So the border crisis of today with this country, I mean, it worked. You can argue it kind of with Europe, but with the United States, it's really nothing to do with anything. It's just an influx of what we've done to Latin America and the rest of the world, and they have to have somewhere to go. We can't sustain them. That's the problem. We can't even sustain our own population. So how do we fix that?
Well, it's going to be a universal across the board capitulation and replacement of the money supply. And it's just not going to be any winners. Everyone's going to lose in some way, but it's just how it is.
I mean, there's going to be pain. You're going to have to feel pain, but pain is temporary. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pain and suffering is very temporary, and so long as you can endure, your perseverance through that endurance is going to pay off in the end. So you just got to keep building.
Yeah.
Why are you? What was that? Yeah, why are you depressed now?
I'm not depressed.
This should be a white pill, dude. This should be a white pill. Work hard.
You don't give a white pill to the black pill guy.
persevere, patience and perseverance, enduring and working and putting forth the effort. There's always a white pill in everything, because out of destruction must be creation. What did God do? He created out of nothing, because you can't create, because nothing can't be created out of nothing. So therefore something had to create nothing. Something had to take nothing and create it. And then out of that, there are periods of destruction. Periods of destruction always. Take the flood, for
Noah
example, as an example.
Was proven to exist.
So just like Bitcoin. Bitcoin can't, the element of Bitcoin is scientific, mathematic, but the idea surrounding what it manifests, very philosophical. Well, for every one question, two more questions will be asked. There will never be an answer. What is right? What is wrong? We do not know. Is there an objective right answer? Yes. Do we know what that objective right answer is? No. We just have to keep on experimenting and trying. And so just like with God, same thing with Bitcoin. It's not a scientific question when it comes to culture and society and humanity and what our purpose is and what the idea of how to fix the issues. It's not a question of science. It's not even a question of mathematics. It is a question of philosophy. What if? How so? When? Where? And why the fuck not? Or why?
If
Period.
then else. If then else.
And with that, I leave you. And with that, I leave you with the greatest bald man that you'll ever.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you on World Blockchain Roundtable tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. You know what I'm saying. See ya.
Bitcoin, baby.
Hey, yeah, this is Bitcoin. I'm back. The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this Bitcoin, baby. I'm back in this bitch. Flossing fast cars and rolling with my clique. The king of the rap shit, the real OG. Whack ass rappers got nothing on me. Bought another Lambo, 3 hoes inside it, 10 hoes in line, ready to ride it. It's Bitcoin, bitch. Keep the track bumping. Really on the plug. I got pies in the oven. 80 years old, and your baby mama fond of me. All she wanna do is smoke my broccoli. Private jets from Rome to Ibiza. Lisa, Jenny, Julie, and Maria. Every day I gotta give thanks. I got Bitcoins in the bank. Bitcoin, baby. I'm back in this bitch.
Bitcoin, baby. Oh,
I'm a bad motherfucker.
Bitcoin, baby.
The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this bitch. Axe your grandmother. Verse 2, coming with the gin and the juice. Call me a drag, spit flame in the boot. I'm hot, like a thermos full of coffee. So hot, can't get the hose off me. It's true, I got the weed card and shit. I'm smoking like a motherfucking chimney, kid. Bitches love me, my shit's never whack. Tell these motherfuckers, Bitcoin's back.
Bitcoin, baby.
I'm a bad motherfucker.
Hot like hot coffee. Oh,
Axe your grandmother.
Surprise, motherfucker.
The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this bitch.
Get your hands in the air. Put your hands